be attentive and keep listening to my lecture, and do not get distracted with the things going around, and keep yourself isolated, uh, and have the notebook and pen with you. Okay? This is highly important that you write down the important points. So it will enable you to have the better understanding. So please, I request everybody. Acha, okay. Uh, this is the measurement of variables. So what is variables? The variables which we have already studied before, in the chapter number 5. This is the same. And when we talk about the measurement, so measurement is uh, quantifying. Quantifying, the real definition will be coming in the upcoming slide. So I'm just telling you about the measurement. Little meaning is when you get to know the accurate quantity of something, it is called the measurement. For example, you say in my ride, in my ride's tire, in my car tire, in my whatever you ride, in my bicycle, in my motorcycle, the air pressure in my tires are good enough. So if I say how much it is, how much is the pressure? So you never know. Is it 30? Is it 20? Is it 15? Is it 40? Is it what? So you can never tell anybody. तुम कहोगे नहीं यार बस ठीक है. Until you use the measurement equipment. ठीक है? Until you use the instrument, you can never get to know the exact dot air pressure in your right tire. So this is very important that you use the instrument, you use the equipment to get to know the exact condition of the about the subject. Acha, this is the first topic of through the measurement. Explain how so variables are measured. Operational definition. When we talk about the operational definition, ठीक है, we will be discussing this is the objective, how variables are measured, how we are going to use of this when we topic going is, to use the measurement of variable. So it means significance we are going to operationalize. We will be able to test our hypothesis, making it which is making it mandatory, working for us to prove or to solve any problem in for the example. Home assignment. I get these assignments and pump for the all have to do after the class. If I do not so use discussion question number 3, how so these are the assignments for which I will the link. Achha, this is the very important slide. You see, this slide is telling you all about the journey which we have been through. Starting from the problem statement, if you see after problem statement, there are all this. This is the research design. These boxes, the transparent boxes, these are research design. Research strategy we have already studied. Study setting we have already studied. Extent of research interference we have already studied. Purpose we have already discussed. The unit of analysis, individual diet we have already studied. Sampling design. This we did not study. Sampling design. So if we will have a time, we could discuss a bit. Otherwise, this is not very much needed, because we will be using the non-probability sampling, and in the non-probability sampling we will be using the convenience sampling. So all of the discussion usually in the sampling design chapter in the sampling is about the probability. So since we will not be using the probability sampling, so there is very little to learn for your upcoming projects. Second is time horizon. Time horizon in one shot and longitudinal, which we have already studied. Data collection method, I just discussed with you. The questionnaires is important to us. Uh, Questionnaires are important to us. So we will be uh, uh, studying this chapter as a home assignment. We will not be uh, having lectures about it. So data collection method we did not discuss in detail. It is your home assignment of reading the questionnaires. I will not be uh, taking your exam about it. The most important part is measurement. We are over here, and in the measurement we are starting from the operational definition items, that is measure, that is also called measure. Write it down. This is the very important point so that you don't get confused. Items equals to measure equals to questions. Items equals to measures equal to questions. Basically, the these are the ways through which you correct the data through the questions. So the number of items is called the instrument or called the questionnaires. So when there are number of questions and measuring different variables, which are measuring different variables, it is called the questionnaire, and questionnaire is called an instrument. So scaling is required to measure the data which we or uh, getting the data from the judge, and the other one is categorizing the scaling, okay, and the coding. Uh, how do we code the scaling? The next chapter, chapter number 12, will be of goodness of data. This is very important. Goodness of data. Since goodness of data is very very critical. If your data is not good, goodness means the health of the data. Health means wellness of the data. Wellness means the reliability and validity of the data. If it is not reliable and valid, it will be useless to use the data. So what you do, you try to check the goodness of the data through uh, verifying or validating your own questionnaire, and uh, through different methods. So we will be discussing this in detail. This is the important topic. So we are about to complete our research thesis chapter number 3. So after chapter 11 and 12, you will be done with the chapter number 3 of your thesis, okay, which you will be attempting in RP1 and RP2. Okay. So let's start with the slide number 1. Slide number one is starting with the variable, the concept of variable. A variable is anything that can take on differing values or varying values. This the same definition I have taken from the this very definition I have taken from the chapter number 5, theoretical framework, just for your better recall. Okay, and so that you guys can relate it better. A variable is anything that can take on changing values or varying values. The values can differ at various times for the same object or person. The values can differ at various times for the same object or person. For example, uh, if you try to know about the age of mine, okay, so it could be changed with the passage of time, or my mood, or my motivation, or my attitude. It could be changed with the passage of time. So at various time you can take the data. At various time you can take the data of this same object. Object is the one from whom object is the one about whom you take the data. लिख लें इसको अपने पास. This is an important point and write it down. The object is the one. The object is the one for whom you collect the data. ठीक है. For example, I am the object, and for me, you are collecting the data. If you are taking the data from me, and I am an employee, so the object would be the organization. If somebody is taking the data from you as a student, it means the university is the object. Okay, so or at the same time for different objects or person. For example, if I take the data from you, all of you guys, about your age, so the age of Komal will be different from the other participants, Hania and others. और भी बहुत हैं students, अभी मेरे नाम ध्यान में I cannot recall. निम्रा हैं और भी हैं. So there are many students we have, mashallah, alhamdulillah, in this class, 32 right now. Though many are late, but nevertheless they all are my students. So the data will be varied from person to person, from the student to student. So if I take the data from you guys, so your answers will be different. So this is over here. This is written or at the same time for different objects or different person. So the values will be changing. So this is all the variables, the example of variables. Acha, just write it down. The important point: the variable is equals to the variables. The variables is equals to attribute or characteristic. The variable is equal to the characteristic and attribute. Clear? Are you done? So examples of attributes of characteristics of variables are production units, absenteeism and motivation. Production units, absenteeism and motivation. Okay, these are the examples of variables. So you see the examples, these are the examples, and you see these examples are justifying the definition of this. Okay. So for example, I could give you the example of absenteeism. Absenteeism is changed for the same person. For example, if I talk about myself, in rather uh, 11 classes of ours, how many times I have been absent. So this is the absenteeism of mine. So my data is being varied class to class. And if I talk about the whole students, so whole students absenteeism are being varied. So this thing is varied, and this is the definition of the variable, in which the variable can take the differing values or the changing values. Let's move on after our nostalgic discussion. Measurement is the assignment of numbers or other symbols to characteristics or attributes of objects according to a pre-specified set of rules. So this is the definition of the measurement actually. And what we have learned through this definition, that measurement is the assignment. You assign numbers or other symbols to characteristics or attributes of objects. ठीक है? To variables. Easy कर लेते हैं. Measurement is the assignment of numbers or other symbols to variables according to a pre-specified set of rules. आसान हो गई definition. ठीक है. So write it down this definition as well, in which we have uh, we talked about the cutting off the characteristic or attribute of objects, or the changing of the characteristic or attributes of objects from the word variable. So numbers or other symbols to variables according to a pre-specified set of rules. ठीक है जी? I hope you have understood. If you have not, if you are not cleared with any point, don't you worry, because there are many things which we will be discussing after a while. So we'll be rediscussing the same points again and again with the good examples. So don't you worry. Unless the variables are measured in some way, we will not be able to find answers to our research questions. So variables has to be measured in some way so that we find the answer of research questions through testing the hypothesis. ठीक है? तो variables measurement is critical, is significant. To be able to measure, you need an object and attributes of the object, but you also need a judge. हमने जो बात करी, एट्रीब्यूट और ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है? ये है कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है, जैसे एम्प्लॉय कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है, वो एब्सेंट भी हो सकता है, वो मोटिवेट भी हो सकता है, वो प्रोडक्शन यूनिट प्रोड्यूस भी करता है. तो दीज आर द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ द एम्प्लॉय. ठीक है. ऑब्जेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट इज basically the organization about which you are taking the data, and the judge would be the employee. The employee would be the judge, attribute would be absenteeism, motivation, and etc. And the object could be it depends upon the research, but the object could be the organization and the employee as well. Employee भी हो सकता है. ठीक है, वो आगे हम देखते हैं. In many cases, object and the judge are the same. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, judge and object are the same. Both could be the employee. और student हो सकता है, अगर आप student, if you talk about the student could be the object and the attribute. Let's understand this in detail. See, this is an another interesting slide. In this slide, you see people's subjective feelings, attitudes, and perceptions are more difficult to measure. So here we are discussing that there are two kinds of characteristics we have about the objects. One is the objective, one is the objective, okay, and the
let's
other
see
one
the
is examples of objects. So when we say objects,
yes,
as I already told you, objects mean one is objective and precise, the one from which we are the one, and the other one about which we are collecting the data. Subjective. So you see are the objects, bicycles are the objects, elephants are the objects, restaurants are the objects, shampoo are the object, yogurt are is the object. So these are the objects, and why are they called object? Can be
because
can be known in a very easy manner. For example, if I ask your age, you can precisely tell me what is your age. 24.2.
These are not variables. For example, companies cannot be measured
24 years or 4 months.
for the research.
Yeah, 28 years, जो भी आपकी age है, 28 years, that many months. So you know precisely about your age.
The data.
You know precisely about your gender. You know precisely about your thirst.
You
how much
cannot
thirst
never
you have.
measure, or
And
you
I
can
can
never
get to know
talk about the
all these by a single question.
You can
For
never
example, if
measure
you say
the
that
bicycle.
I have a thirst of
yes,
4
you can
glasses of
measure
water,
the characteristic
it means
of
you
the
are very
bicycle,
thirsty.
attribute of the
If you
bicycle.
say I have a thirst of 1
Same
glass
with the
of water,
elephant,
it means
same
you
with
are
the
not
restaurant,
thirsty.
same with the shampoo.
So see,
and
these
same with the
variables are
yogurt.
easy to
Under
understand.
more. See the another slide, examples of characteristics. So now we are talking about the attributes or characteristics. Organization effectiveness is the attribute or characteristic of the organization. The length is the characteristic of what? It could be characteristic of land. Okay. Weight could be characteristic of elephant. Service quality could be the characteristic of hotel. Conditioning effects could be the characteristic of shampoo. Taste could be the characteristic of food or yogurt. Okay. So you see here we have synchronized both of them, and here you see the objects and their characteristic. So you see the length attribute of a person, that is the object, the weight of an element, elephant is the object, weight of the bicycle, bicycle is an object, and weight is the characteristic or an attribute. Shopping enjoyment is the characteristic of women or attribute of women. Service quality for restaurant, conditioning effect for shampoo, taste of a yogurt, communication skills of students. So I hope you have understood the idea about the objects and their attributes and characteristics. Let's move on. So you see, this is the exercise which you all have to attempt. Let me do part A for you guys so that you better be able to attempt all of them up till E. Identify the object and the attribute. Give your informed opinion about who would be an adequate judge. So see what we have learned about the judge before. Judge is the one who will give the information about the characteristic. And the object is the one about which you are getting the data or the attribute or the characteristic. So you see price consciousness of car buyers. Price consciousness of car buyers. What do you think the answer would be? Let me know. What you think the price consciousness is it object, is it attribute, is it an adequate judge? So you see the price consciousness, let me help you out, or let me go ahead. Price consciousness is basically an attribute of of the of the car buyer, of the car buyer. And car buyer is who? Car buyer is who? Car buyer is basically is an object. Okay, car buyer is an object, and the same is with the judge. The judge is the one who is buying the car, or you may say the judge could be the customer of any company or anyone. So customer could be the judge or car buyer could be the judge. So same, you see judge and the object are the same. So these are sometimes it is possible. There are times when the judge and objects are same. So I hope that you will be able to solve them and upload your assignment on the link which I will develop. Let's move ahead. Home, this is your home assignment and it is very easy. What you have to do, you just have to provide the measurable attributes for the following objects: restaurant, which we have already discussed; consumer, which we have discussed; bicycle, which we have already discussed. So I hope this assignment will be very much easy to